Ready?
It's 9 o'clock. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They look like a flag.
Yeah, really. I wonder how long it's going to take me to.
We'll consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold, seconded by Derby to approve the minutes and the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. 9 a.m. Public hearing for fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold to open the public hearing for fiscal year 25 budget amendment. All in favor say aye.
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 That was a tough one.
So what was all the sheriff's amendments then?
Give me 1 second.
Quite a bit. There.
It's for the vests. So it's not out of taxpayer dollars, it's out of the Board of Prisoners.
Okay.
It's also for the
Because there's like,
attorney's window downstairs.
Oh,
That's our Board of Prisoners, so that's not taxpayer dollars either. It's
'Cause there's
from
like-
the jail.
4 accounts it was amending.
Let me go grab my file.
I still love the county card facility.
Yeah. Were there like 500 tournaments there or what?
That's where we store our debit cards.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
It's also because we've had so many prisoners that we had to increase the
Foods.
food service.
Mm.
And then the medical censor is out of the opioid fund.
So the foods budget comes out of the Board
General
of
basic.
General Basic, but we get money back into General Basic from the Board of Prisoners.
From the jail, not
Jail,
from the
yeah.
Board of Prisoners.
Okay.
It's not miscellaneous, but it's miscellaneous. There's 272 there. What all is that?
Which one?
Miscellaneous?
217,000, was that
3,000.
our, P?
What have been the Pete
What was
fire.
it, 200 and some thousand?
217,
That's the peak.
yeah, 272 was the total.
Mount Valley Fire.
Yeah, it's,
Well, there's other things in that category, but
yeah, well, there's 52,000 for something else here.
no, the increases.
Oh, yeah.
Center one is the increases.
So the conservation had significant increases too. Was that with mostly the,
It was because we had to pay out Robert Schwartz, his vacation and comp
oh,
and all that stuff.
okay.
Supervisors increased too.
Yep.
Mm.
Anything significant that you want to point out, Carla?
I think you've hit all the high spots.
Those you could ask online if there's anybody that has questions.
If there's anyone on the phone, is there any questions about budget amendments? Okay, if none,
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
I'll say it.
motion by Derby, second by Jensvold, to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consider for approval of fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold and seconded by Derby to approve the fiscal year 25 budget amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Is there a place to sign on that?
No,
If not,
I did
can
not
we-
see it.
Want it
Need it
stamped?
Here, I was just cruising along, enjoying the meeting.
Yeah, no, the responsibilities of that seat are hitting you hard.
And I gotta change months.
Oh, my. Well, we got a couple minutes before the 9:10, so can you get it in under that? That's,
I don't know, you're down to about 45 seconds.
oh.
No pressure.
oh,
Well, at least
that-
according to my laptop. Before we start the
No, no.
910, I just wanted to introduce my new victim witness coordinator to you folks real quick. This is Amanda Jensen. She started last week. Her and Audrey are overlapping for just a couple of weeks, and then she'll start just her next week. She's part-time until July 1, and then she'll go full-time starting July 1. So we've worked with Amanda a lot over the last several years. She's been a sexual assault advocate for Crisis Intervention Service. So she's actually sat in on many meetings with me and victims, trials and things like that before. So she's very familiar with the criminal justice system already and working with victims. And then she's also a mobile crisis response counselor.
Yes.
Okay, I always screw that up. So she's actually one of the folks that through that mobile crisis response group that they had set up that goes out in crisis situations to de-escalate folks that are, having mental health crises or whatever. So lots of experience in working with people who need additional help. So we're excited to have her on board, but I just wanted the chance for you guys to meet.
Well, welcome, Amanda.
I told her she didn't have to sit through the boring rest of it.
Oh, it's never
Oh, no,
boring.
we
It's
got-
never boring. You might want to see what we do.
Recycling ordinance, I know she's really excited about. But,
We've got drainage coming up.
oh boy, well, I'll be scooting off for that one.
Oh.
So anyway, so we're excited to
Well,
have
good.
her.
Welcome.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So she's from Lake Mills area.
Yes.
Or
Yep.
lives there now.
Yep. I live in Lake Mills.
Cool.
Own, actually the Green Axe uptown here.
Oh, you
so-
do?
Yeah, yeah, we bought that in last September.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, well, it is 9:10, so we are going to have discussion with possible action regarding rural recycling ordinance, set public hearing for the ordinance.
Unless you're really intrigued.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the crowd bails.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
So I had sent you guys just a rough draft proposal of a recycling ordinance. I basically plagiarized a few other counties that I'd found and kind of fit to what I thought we would want. There are a few things though I want to make sure we clarify or talk about. Excuse me. Apparently we can actually mandate that all the rural residents recycle and make it an offense if they don't recycle and they throw their recycling in the trash. I had a feeling that you folks probably wouldn't want to do that, so I took that. I didn't copy that portion of it, but I thought I better mention it since other counties are doing it. But like I said, I had a feeling that would not be the direction that we would go. But if that is what you tell me, I can certainly add that in.
It's interesting, though.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't realized that.
I think there's a lot of other issues out there that need to be resolved before we'd go that far.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
And the reason we're at where we're at is because there is no market for a lot of that recycling anyway, so it was
Sure.
going to the trash anyhow. It was
Yeah.
just expensive garbage.
Right.
That's my point.
Right. So a couple of things in here. First, so as far as like the enforcement and penalty, so that's section 5 on the second page, or I don't know if you guys have a copy of it.
You know.
Oh, okay. I sent it to you in email, but if you want copies to look at, well,
We could make a copy quick here.
Oh, you've got it stapled. Let me see if I can.
Okay.
it quick.
Yes, I can pull it up in my email, I guess.
So in this, in a self-hauler, $100 is the maximum we can do on any simple misdemeanor.
So the maximum penalty for a simple is actually, I think it's $855 now.
Oh, it was a lot lower before, it was what you told us, wasn't it?
I
I thought I saw a number that was,
The minimum on a simple is 105.
okay.
The max, I'm pretty sure it's 805 or 855. I just looked at that. Actually, I just made a cheat sheet for Amanda about that. So let me see if I can find that. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about because this was just what another county had in there, so I just threw numbers in there. I don't know how much $50 is a deterrent to folks.
Well, and it's that the effort we have to put forth
Right.
to collect $50
Right.
doesn't seem like it's worth it.
So on a simple now, yeah, max is 855. So we can go up to 855 per the code.
I think originally were we talking like 500?
That's what I thought. Yeah,
Would that be for the third offense and maybe like 100 for a first offense? I don't know. What you guys-
whatever. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever you guys think. Whatever.
I'd just like to have that bigger number up there.
Yep.
I don't
Especially
even think
'cause we
it should
talked
be
about-
a 100 one, if it's spelled out
Well,
on there. I mean, I think it's just confusing the issue if you do 100 for the first offense and 200 and then up to 500.
Yeah.
You just-
Yeah, and we can do that too, where we just make it one straight amount, no matter whether it's first, second, or third. Again, this is just what another county
Sure.
had proposed, so I didn't know.
I had originally, the fine was, 500 was
500
probably
is
a
what we
reasonable
talked about.
number.
Yeah, that's what you guys had thrown
Because
out.
we don't want them to think, well, it only, no, it ain't worth the risk if it's $500,
Yeah,
which,
well, and that's what I thought for sure about the 50, that I think is way too low. I mean, because I know you talked about posting a sign out there that
Well, and
talks about,
I
you
was
know, for a
thinking,
violation.
That sign is up.
okay, and it says
A
500?
sign about the fine amount without an ordinance about a fine amount?
Yeah.
That was probably not a great move, but.
Wow, okay, so it says 500. Does it say up to or
I don't think so. We just put
$500 fine? Well, that sounds like a good place to go.
Well, that's what we'll probably have
That's-
to do then, unless you want to.
That's
make
what
it
we
a
were
sign.
thinking anyways.
yeah.
So do you want to do 500 for just any violation, not split
Well-
up first, second, third?
Any improper disposal. I mean, it's,
And obviously, there's discretion in enforcement, right? So if it's like somebody, something.
If somebody
you
throws
truly
their
think
pop
is a-
bottle in there and they're not supposed to with the lid on, it's,
Right, or if somebody like is clearly like trying to follow the rules but just makes a mistake, that's not something we'd have to file on. So there's obviously some discretion in the enforcement. You want to be consistent, of course,
on
but
fines like that, is that something that they would have to bring to court, or is that something they just bring before us?
so it would have to go through court because it's a municipal infraction. So, we would, and I have like forms for that, that's easy. It's similar like when we do like, who did we do that on? We did one on Roger Cruz that I filed in court.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the exact reason why we did that, but it's a municipal infraction.
I mean, it's too bad it just can't come before us, and if somebody, to keep it simple, and if somebody made a mistake, we wouldn't have to go through the whole court system to get the mistake straightened out.
Well, and that's where you would have the discretion before you decide to contact me to file anything.
So you're the one that files it.
Yep, so because that was another question I had. Several of the counties have the county engineer designated as like the person who manages it. Doesn't have to be county engineer, whoever you want. It can't be me because I'm the one who files it, so I need somebody that can come in, say we have to go to court. My guess is that will happen very rarely.
right.
But if we had to go to court on it, I would need somebody to come in and be able to testify and say, this is what we did, this is what I observed, or do we have the cameras out there yet?
Yeah,
Okay, so lay foundation for the footage, things like that. But, so it doesn't have to be the county engineer, that's up to you guys. But whoever that person is that's designated would kind of be the one that's like, okay, is this a violation or not? They can always call and talk to me about it, obviously. And then if it's something they think is like willful, go ahead and ask me to file.
like a couch.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a couch once? It seems like I remember seeing
Cushions.
there was a couch cushions in there or something,
Mhm.
So you're just saying that it can come
But-
before this board first, and if we deem it,
To decide,
then it could go and you would do the
yeah,
filing.
Because I think
Yeah,
one of the
that'd be
things
fine.
they don't want in recycling, I believe, you can't throw like glass plates.
so, cause that was
No.
another question I had, is if we need to add more to the list, that top of the second page.
But-
Of what shouldn't get thrown in there, so like, I don't have furniture written down, maybe that's something that needs to be specifically added.
Do you need to add anything though, if you've already got a list of what can be thrown in there, so then everybody should know what can't be thrown in
Yeah.
there.
So, the complicated part of it is, because when we spoke with, I'm blanking on his name, but the hauler,
Chris.
thank you.
Yeah.
He said basically they have a website that they went to, right, to see like what is
Where
accepted
where
and
they
what's
take it.
not, right. Now that's specific to the location they take it, and I'm assuming that's subject to change, right? So I didn't wanna put necessarily
I
all
know
of those things
where
listed in here if that,
where
can
he's
change
taking
in
it
2 years.
now versus a year ago, it's more exclusive. Now, they exclude a few more things at this one.
Sure, okay. So I guess I haven't seen any of the signage, so I don't know if the signs specifically say, here's what we do accept,
I think Scott went down.
I think you
To
went to
get
get
some of
it.
that, okay.
Yeah,
Because that would help, because we don't wanna be in a position where we have to amend the ordinance all the time to comply with, you know, what can and can't be disposed of.
just throwing the wrong kind of
Recycle.
glass in, people, that's such a simple mistake. It seems like glass to everybody, but it's not the right
So,
kind.
and supposedly bottles with caps, the cap is not the same plastic as the bottle, and
You're not supposed to
be able
put
throw it
caps in,
Do you know how many of them got the cap on them?
all of them.
90% at
All
least.
of them,
At least.
because that's how we do it.
I look at my big jugs that I try to compress. They're recyclable,
Mhm.
but to keep them compressed, then I
You
put
gotta
the
screw
lid
the
on.
cap, yeah, no, yeah, that's what I do too. So it takes up a lot less space that way.
So the sign, I mean, does have,
We just plagiarized that sign from the place that it's hauled to.
okay,
Right.
This is the sign that says define. There's another sign that says
Oh, okay,
what's
Where-
acceptable and not acceptable.
yeah, so it's all listed on
well, you
the
have both of them here.
site.
Yeah, so what stays out? So we could maybe reword this, you know, to comply with whatever signage is posted, as long as we know we're always gonna have a sign, which I don't know why we wouldn't, so,
And hopefully
so I could
somebody-
reword that so that we're not
Hopefully
like
somebody doesn't
specifically.
steal the sign so that
Right.
they can get away with something.
Yeah. Yeah, can I keep these copies?
Mhm.
So I think that's a good idea to try to reword it to mostly work in the signage.
Mhm. And then change the
Fines
fine amount.
And just 500 straight across, is that what we wanna do?
for any offense.
And is that both self-hauler and commercial collector?
Should we go 800 on a commercial?
I mean, that's what, most of them have more for the commercial
It's not
collector,
gonna
just
be
cause they're
listed there,
expected to know all the rules and.
That sounds fair. I mean, yeah, if it's
Or we could
500,
just do maximum penalty for simple misdemeanor on the collector, which would be $855 right now, but if that goes up, you know, the
Oh,
legislature
yeah.
amends
Do
that
it
up,
that way.
yeah,
that's a good idea.
so collector, okay.
So you're just gonna just have it say maximum penalty, no dollar amount.
Yep, it'll say maximum, so it'll be like that box all the way to the right there,
Right,
maximum
but
penalty provided for.
For,
simple
for
misdemeanor.
any offense, right?
No, for the commercial.
For the-
No, first
for
or
any
second, I
offense
mean.
For the commercial,
So, yeah, not first offense, not second,
Right.
not,
Just
yeah,
any offense.
yeah,
On
Perfect.
the commercial side.
and then 500 for any offense for self-hauler, is what I'm hearing,
Yep.
right?
Okay, so the self-hauler, are we going to, for 4 more, or for so many offenses, are we going to go to the maximum penalty?
We can, I mean, if you wanna keep that like 4 or more offenses, or 3 or more offenses, and
Yeah, I would say
maximum,
if they've done it 2 or 3 times, they're
and
obviously,
they're not getting it,
if we've already,
then they can't read, that's the problem.
charged them once and they do it again.
right,
I mean, they should have known.
so we could do 3rd offense,
Yeah.
3rd or more,
Right.
maybe instead of the 4. So keep that. But then 1st and 2nd would still be 500. And then I don't know that I had anything in here specific to that it's only for use by the rural residents and not by anybody in incorporated city limits, right? Or is that not accurate?
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
No,
Well, see,
Yeah.
Rake and
City of Lake
Starville.
and City of Starville are included.
Okay, because the sign says rural residents only.
Even though the city of Rake has, Waste Management still picks theirs up,
They're recycling?
recycling.
Who's
They
paying for
must have a
that?
separate contract, just like Thompson does.
You know, maybe they did that after we dropped it, maybe they're,
Has that been a long time they've
No,
done
yeah,
that?
they've been doing it for a long time. My
but
mother-in-law
they
still
used to
got
have
theirs.
it, I think they used to have it through us, I think we were paying it. And there's no way we're paying it now, so
Maybe
they
the,
might have done their own contract, or there may be a few still doing it.
I guess I'll have to check with the city fathers to see what kind of an agreement they have, I guess, but,
The only way we could probably do that is if any town under the population of rural or any city under the population of
It's really
whatever. would be a
more
or whatever.
about the Thompson residents don't put their,
Right.
if they, or
And then
Lake
did you have
Mills,
trouble
or,
with commercial, like businesses using
Well, it
it?
was
one,
a communications company.
Okay. Cause I don't have anything in there about that, cause that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, if we needed to make sure we explicitly put in here who is allowed to use the facility or not.
and can those come up case by case just in front of us as well, though, or not?
I think it's, since there's so few, we can probably just work on those one-on-one to make sure they don't do it.
That's kind of what I think, too.
Okay,
They should be, like that communications company should have been taking it back to their facilities and,
so my only concern is if it's not anywhere in the ordinance that they're not, like, a commercial business isn't allowed to use it, I don't know then what,
There's no consequences.
yeah, and
okay.
But-
yet you wouldn't be able to stop them.
The
But
thing is, it's kind of a funny gray line, though, because if they're out working on
commercial business and they're rural.
a rural person's,
But that wouldn't be
Place.
multiple boxes, like we
you
had that
wouldn't
one
think
time.
so, yeah, you wouldn't think so. But were those boxes technically the rural residents' ish, problem to deal
Yeah, so you're
with?
talking like a business that disposes of recycling or trash on behalf of whoever's
Yeah.
acreage
They
they might
had
be
50
working on or
boxes they put
whatever.
in there,
Uh-huh,
and all we saw was the mailing address in another city.
But, then we had another instance where someone probably lived in the country and had a business in town, and they were taking some of their business recycling to our rural recycling, but they're rural.
yeah,
So, there's some kind of interesting,
gray areas.
yeah,
I would think some of our biggest rural commercial businesses
hmm
have their own recycling.
You'd think.
So,
But, you think about every farmer has dozens and dozens of chemical boxes and chemical jugs every year. I mean, look at how many Asmus sends out to
Yeah.
all of them. If all of those ended up there, in fact, we need to figure out a way to encourage those chemical companies to take them back, just like cans.
Well, that's what the big totes are for.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of small ones too. Yeah.
So where would that be? What section is that?
It's not, they're probably not one in here, so we would wanna add a paragraph about basically who's allowed, to use the facility.
County residents desiring to recycle.
You said which towns?
Starville and Ray.
And is that just because of their population, or?
It was before I was here
It
that
was
it started.
before my time too.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
the way it's-
But now Bill
Gotcha.
says that Rake is doing,
Well, but they might be signed up to pay for it themselves,
sure,
because we're not paying for it.
no.
So that's just always been that they've been included, gotcha, okay,
They were grandfathered in through the years.
Yeah.
okay.
But we could identify in residents of cities under 300 or whatever that population threshold is. Leland has their own.
Yep.
So we gotta determine whatever the difference between Leland and the others are.
Right,
And then you're gonna change on section 5, the designee is not gonna be the county engineer.
it's whoever you want, you tell me to have it be.
I kinda like it being Scott,
I'm sure Scott loves that too.
I bet.
What does it make me?
The, enforcer of the ordinance, essentially. So somebody has to be designated to, you know, if somebody calls in and says, hey, I saw a guy throwing away something they shouldn't be, somebody has to be designated to then basically investigate it to some extent, right? To go and look at the footage.
Or pass it on to us at least.
Yeah, whichever. And
I
if
think
you guys
that-
want to investigate it, that's, I mean, it can
'Cause
just be
it's
you
probably,
too.
something
but-
like that's gonna go through us at some point, but they've got the access to the camera,
Engineer,
right? Ethan
Anyone
does.
can.
but you have the primary access.
Anyone who wants to sign up
It's
can
just
have it.
Brody can give it to anyone.
That's
I
it.
asked Brody and he said the supervisor said, them, you, and like, and guys. So I don't have
Said who?
access even though I've asked.
What was the
for it.
first one?
Him, Brody.
Us, them, she said.
Brody, Scott, and Chris and Aaron.
Okay.
So Brody is not giving access.
You don't wanna have too many acts.
No, you don't with any. That kind of defeats the purpose of the surveillance.
So to me, it seems like if they at least inform us from the road department of the situation, well, Chris and,
I get
Aaron.
calls still, so, and I pass those on when I get calls.
so you wanna be,
I don't wanna be, I just am saying that I still
Well,
get
anyone
calls.
can obviously pass the information
Yeah.
on. They just need to know who to pass it on to. So if it's,
Well, they have to observe the videos, which
somebody
would
does.
take
yeah.
time, you know, and takes time.
do you think that would be a problem to just pass it on or observe the video or whatever, or how do we work that? It's only upon the case of a problem.
Mhm.
Right.
Seems like it would make sense for the person in charge of the contract to do it,
Well,
to me.
or the one that gets the calls, I guess,
I think,
which could be any one of us in a sense, but,
Right.
but I think whoever's named there is gonna have to have access to the cameras.
Yes.
Sure.
mhm.
That's,
And-
I can do it, I need access then.
But also,
So why do you guys have the access?
Because we installed it.
Okay.
It's their building.
Mostly because when you put it up, you gotta check the camera to make sure it's facing the right way and
Sure.
stuff like that.
Plus
Yeah, I
it-
was just curious
I
if
haven't
there
opened
was a
it since.
reason that,
No,
yeah.
But it's a benefit for them to have that observation from their building of their property.
I was gonna say, because maybe we take if the engineer's office doesn't wanna do it, take the video access away from them and give it to the auditor if that's who's gonna do it.
well, is it something that Eric could do when he's at his desktop all day or not?
Anyone
Or
can do it. For sure, anyone can do it.
So you guys just have to decide who you wanna make do it.
That's,
What
I will
Scott's
do it,
saying.
it's fine. I can do it.
the nice thing though would be is if it was someone who is in the area often.
Yeah.
To
Well-
see it on the thing and then go and say, oh yeah, that really is.
But
A
you're already
TV.
getting calls about,
Yeah, you're getting a call about it, and you can look at the video. But,
okay. So I guess that would be the way to go.
Auditor,
Connect her and name the auditor.
and then take the engineer access away.
One of them, weren't you two of them?
I'm pretty sure it's like a shared
Right.
access. I'm not sure. We'd have to ask.
I think we might have named four.
Well, if it's up, can you just
Or
pull it
whether-
up? Who has it? I mean, it should be operational. We could look at it and
I
see.
suppose Brody and maybe Ethan.
so what are we gonna designate that? The recycling Nazi then?
Careful.
Careful.
So my login is IT department at Winnebago County, Iowa.gov.
So it's everybody using the same
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you just share that with her, then she'd have access probably.
Brody would,
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with
Talk to
Brody.
Brody.
Mhm.
Is that the last one then? You think?
Yes, I think that, well, I need a little more clarification on the commercial business
Oh, yeah,
use.
rural commercial.
Just so I can throw some language in, we can always put it back on the agenda and talk about it again once I get a new draft, but can you give me some direction of,
I mean,
You mean the penalty part of it, or,
No,
no, we got that
Not
figured out.
allowing
no,
commercial.
businesses, whether
rural.
businesses are allowed to use it or not?
Oh.
So is it if they're a rural resident operating a business on a rural residence, they can use it,
Well,
or no?
But they would be considered a commercial collector then,
Well,
wouldn't they
No, the
almost?
commercial collector is the operator of the,
Right, I know, but I mean, would they fall under a commercial? No, okay.
well, any farmer could be designated a rural business.
I mean-
no, there's a
well,
code.
right, that's why, so
but,
there's a lot of weird,
I would, you just don't want the volume to where one trip from them is gonna fill the thing.
right,
If they've got small amounts like anybody else, I guess it isn't that big a deal, at least they're wanting to recycle it, but, when they come in and fill the whole thing with boxes like that one time, then there's no room for anybody else to use it, and it's,
I mean, we could try to put something in about pre-approval before they use it, they've gotta call you guys or Carla or somebody, I mean, I don't know if that's more complicated than it needs to be or not, I'm not sure how to solve that.
Well,
Can we just put in there some type of verbiage that it would be on a case-by-case basis if abused, or that kind of thing?
Recording started.
I can try to put something like that in, that's really vague.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So I don't
it's-
love it, as just as an attorney,
yeah.
but,
See, I'd love it because it's really vague. We could do more.
well,
wouldn't
but
it?
then their defense is always, well, it's so vague, I didn't know what
Yeah,
the law
yeah.
was. So I don't think we'd still be
Well-
back to the same point of we don't really have an enforcement.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
or do we just say it's rural residential recycling
only.
only?
oh, that's good, if you put the
No
residential
commercial
part in there.
Recycling. No commercial business recycling.
Yeah.
No rural commercial.
And then if there is a weird one where it's like the example you talked about where there's a rural resident who's using it for his or her commercial and town business, that's something that could come before you because it's kind of a wonky area and you could decide what to do from there.
Yeah.
So, and the sign that you guys put up does say rural residents only, so.
Yeah.
All right, so it's.
And the problem with that one instance was because the jugs were this big.
Yeah,
rural
it just
resident-
filled up.
A rural resident and rural, residential, you know, I mean, because then it's, because we're starting to split hairs on the words now, but,
One defines the space.
Yeah,
you
one-
know, the
yeah.
location, and the other is the
a
person.
rural resident is anybody that lives rurally. Rural residential
Use.
would be, you know, household, in my mind anyway.
That's,
But,
that would
Yeah.
be common sense, you know,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, let me play around with that a little bit, I just needed a little direction there, so I'll mess with it and then try to get this.
Also from the business in town.
But even 1 gallon jugs take up a lot of room.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Milk
always,
jugs,
I
whatever.
always smash my milk jugs.
But you're in Buffalo Center, so you're not in this discussion.
Well, that's a fine how do you do.
I don't know how you would do that, other than just encourage it on signage, you know? I don't-
Well, if you don't want to do so many bags, it only makes sense. It takes up less space, less trip for you. So I guess you gotta smash it.
Okay,
Not everybody has the same PSI on their smasher.
Mhm.
and I mean, I can throw language in and we can talk about it too, once you see
Yeah.
it, and then we can always take it out. Can you throw this back on for the 17th when I'm
Yep.
here for the other?
All right. Anything else? We do have a 9:30 that we're a little late for. Anything else for Kelsey?
No, I'm on the next thing, but I think I talked to Carla and it sounds like the system can't do what I wanted it to do. So, the comp, or the comp time issue, I was hoping, my legal assistant is always at 80 hours comp time, which is the max, so then at that point she gets paid out. I don't wanna pay her out because it messes with my budget, she doesn't care to be paid out. What I was hoping for is that the system could, like, if in 1 week, say we have a jury trial and she has to work an extra 10 hours, then in that same week or the next week within the same payroll, that she's off and it would balance out, so we're not going over, but apparently the system can't do that. It's not a policy issue or anything, it's just the Tyler system.
The computer
That
issue.
Just actually can't make that work. So it's caused a big problem in our office because then I keep having to pay her out
Hmm.
a little bit. It hasn't amounted to a ton. Hopefully that will be negated a little bit once Amanda starts full-time, because the other issue is I can't just be like, we'll take a week off, because that just means I'm working her job for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been an issue for our office, but like I said, it sounds like the old system did it, but
The old system did it, but this system does not, so it's just a,
So we paid more money for something that
Progress.
can't do it.
yeah, well, that's what I said, can't we make the request, like, yeah, it's frustrating,
I mean, I can put into Tyler to ask for a software change, but the probability of getting that is,
You would think other counties have had the same problem.
yeah.
because that's just the easiest way to do it when we have, like, when we know she's gonna have to work overtime 1 week because
Makes
of like a
sense to
jury
me.
trial, then the next week, usually, we have a jury trial 1 week, we don't have one the next, within that same payroll, she could then just offset her hours, and it's
So how
a
does
lot easier.
How does it work with other departments that have comp time?
Well, nobody normally gets that, except maybe the jail.
How about road?
They have more comp through their contract, so they don't usually have that issue either.
So that was the other thing I kind of wanted to propose, but I know it's an issue that, I don't want to cause issues just because of my office, obviously. I mean, it'd be nice if she could accrue more comp time, but
Well, I guess I just don't understand, if they work with comp time, why,
Yeah, why can't they make that?
how does that work in your
Because
system?
nobody else gets, everybody else has more people, so they're able to take off more time when they get
Oh.
that full.
Okay,
But the jail, they pay out a lot. So they just pay it out and, but
and
they have
that's
a bigger
something I can try to
too.
budget for, but I don't want to have to spend more money, and Kenna's fine with not being paid. I mean, she'd rather
She'd
have the
rather-
comp time, frankly. I mean,
I can see that.
so I don't want to have to spend the county's money if we don't have to spend it. That's where I'm at, so it's just kind of a weird. But it's an issue that's apparently only affecting my office, and it's probably because I'm a small office but we do work a lot, so I don't know. Like I said, hopefully with Amanda starting where I can cross-train, I mean, that will certainly help. I don't know at what point we'll catch up, to be in a good position with that. It's probably gonna take a while, but, yeah.
Kelsey and
Yeah.
supervisors, this is Julia, Public Health. That does kind of happen once in a while with my aides because they work the weekend and they collect comp.
Okay.
So, they're on call like every 4th or 5th weekend. So they accrue, and they would like to do the same thing that Kenna would like if they know they work the weekend and they're short 1 week, the next week, take, a day off. Because usually on the weekend they do, if they're on the weekend and they work, they usually do get about 8 hours of comp. But we've just made it work because I didn't know that any other office was having the same issue, so.
Well, and the issue with Kenna is that she's at her max because we haven't been able to allow her to take off a bunch of time.
Right, and I have an aide like that, well, my LPN is like that right now too, but we finally did make it work that she is going to be taking some time off to use up some comp to get it completely down. So.
And I'm not really interested in making Kenna take 2 weeks off and get it back to zero either, because I don't know that that's necessarily fair either. I mean, I don't know, it's a
Well, it
tough
sounds like you're working on it,
issue.
so.
Yeah, hopefully. It'd be
Well,
nice if the system could do that,
I,
and just make things.
For what we pay for the system, you think they would give us a little?
That was my frustrating
Yeah,
point,
I mean-
is that
Can't you just write 8 hours every day and equal it out, you know?
Chelsea told me I couldn't do that. I tried.
Uh.
Cause that's what I tried to like balance. 'Cause that's what I said, is like, can't we just say she worked 6 hours one day and, or whatever, how, I can't remember what the math
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
but, so that she wasn't accruing additional comp or whatever, but that system either, cause then is it because you don't total the 37.5?
Right.
Well, we're their customers, so they should be,
Well, maybe could we make the request and see
Receptive.
We can definitely make the request.
Let's do that, and then that would
See
be,
where it's at then.
yeah. And
That
then,
makes
because I
sense.
don't know.
Because if it would help Julie's office too, we could, that would be good. How quickly do you find out these things, responses from?
Probably, I don't know, I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I mean, they'll give you an answer on right away, whoever you talk to, on what they could try to do,
Yeah.
and, or not, but,
okay.
Well,
to
if the
actually
current
get the-
system did it, obviously there's the capability to do it, right? I mean, like, it's not like it's something that's impossible.
doesn't sound like anything's overly complicated, and I'm not a computer whiz, so it's,
Two systems are completely different
Mhm.
in how they were written and how
Right.
they work. So
The guy
why
that
they
wrote-
didn't implement it, there's a few things that we've noticed
That are different.
that are just completely different, and it's like, why can't it do it if they did it before?
My guess is the guy that wrote the previous one is completely retired and gone.
Yeah, it's probably true.
True.
But I'll ask.
All right, thanks.
Anything else for me?
You're good,
Thank you guys.
thank you. All right, well, we're a little behind. We'll do, number 6, 9:30, Juliana Burkholder to discuss with possible action use of courthouse grounds for pucker brush.
Oh, yes.
So this is just your typical, pucker brush, here's the approval. Pucker brush is July 18th and 19th, and can I stand or?
no, you can do whatever you want.
Do what you want.
You've got the floor.
Yeah.
Pucker brush July 18th and 19th, and yeah, just your typical Friday night. We'll be kind of set up Courthouse Square about 5 o'clock is when people start on the 18th, and then go until about 9 o'clock. And then on the 19th Saturday, it would be the parade starts at 10. So then we have stuff going on until about 4.
So nothing has changed on this request.
Nothing
From-
changed on this request. Nope.
Okay,
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the use of the courthouse grounds for pucker brush in 2025.
I'll second it.
motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to allow use of courthouse grounds for pucker brush. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Right.
That was easy.
Awesome.
Should've-
Thank you guys. Hey.
Oh.
Yeah, I got to learn
And we
some
can do
things.
this in the Tyler system.
Don't,
Yeah.
don't go anywhere, drainage is next.
No, I'm
Boy,
Top of the rock.
yes, it was great.
I'll send that
So
into you
fun.
and send it.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't have anything today, so.
yeah,
I know.
hopefully everything's draining,
It's in the quick.
yeah.
I didn't have it.
Okay,
No, I got it.
Oh, thanks. Top of the rock. That was a fun
Yeah,
one.
no,
Thank
That was easy.
Part
no,
three.
no drainage, huh?
Yeah, oh, man,
he's leaving.
he was on the edge of his seat until he found that out.
I have state land cottonwoods and willow trees that are plugging 2 tile lines, but I'm gonna call them first. See if they'll
The
let me.
roots or the, all the
Big
cottonwood.
Terrible.
White stuff, fluffy stuff floating around going down a drain.
All right, Scott, number 8, engineer.
Yeah, I got a couple of bigger things to discuss with you, but first I'll give you an update on the building. It's, progress is being made. They got, 3 of the walls are spray foamed already, and they're working on putting the rest of the concrete in the floor.
So they were getting ready to pour before 8 this morning.
Yeah, so they got the the sand oil separator and the drains all in there now. The first pour they had the trench drains, but now they got the sand oil separator, which has a, it's 2 chambers. One of the chambers has a graded top, and that's in the middle of our wash bay on the west end. So that got all set here kind of over the weekend and into yesterday. And they're pouring the north third and the half of the wash stall today. And hopefully have everything inside the building concrete-wise complete this week.
And that's growthy,
Yep, they've been,
Premier.
yep. And the Kingland crew, Matt and his guys have been kind of trying to work around some of those things that are going on too. They've been working on getting the framing in the office complete and the roof on it and all the rest of the sheeting and everything. So that's coming along too. We got the water line to the building from the well and kind of all the exterior work with that, so it's all stubbed into the building just right.
How deep did they have to go with the well there?
I don't know the final number, but I want to say they were looking for 160 feet or something. You know, we have a 2-inch fire hose that we got to get good pressure to, so, you know, we might have to go deeper for that compared to residential well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a shower out there too?
Not
Can't
sure.
remember. There's not.
We just got a
That's what the
I didn't know if
that's what
something
the
like that
2-inch
would
hose
be.
is.
small
Yeah.
system, yeah.
I didn't know if there's something like that would be required in case you guys got something on yourselves. I couldn't remember.
No, even like an eye wash station is questionable whether it's required. It kind of depends on which chemicals we had on hand, for instance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's all on that for now, I think, unless you have any questions.
Did you
Okay,
figure out your salt shed design?
it's in progress, I guess. We have sent out some feelers and have some, like EPS is the building manufacturer, so their team is working on a concept for us. So I'm hoping that'll kind of tell us which direction we need to go, whether we can afford to do it as a full building or if we need to do something else. My hope is that we can put salt in a shed without concrete bunkers, but we will see. We have several wood walled bunkers that are, you know, basically free of any corrosion, and the concrete walls are just flaking apart. So rather just be asphalt and wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dry fertilizer buildings are always made out of wood.
Same
Can't
deal.
remember. Seems like that's an asphalt floor going through there too.
I would guess, I mean, again, if you look at the
Maybe
asphalt
it's-
floor in our dome here, it's like pristine, and the walls are like maybe a half inch or more slaked off them. And
For after years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would have plenty of bridge timbers to planking to cover it.
We do. You know, one of our original leading options was to build it out of bridge plank, just like our buffalo shed is. I think they bought lumber for that, but it's be the same design. But our longest pieces are something like 22 feet. So if you drop them in the ground 4 or 5 feet, then you lose as much clearance as we'd like. You know, you'd like to be able to lift a box all the way up inside so you can dump and not tear the rafters out of it like we have damaged rafters before. So I'm quite sure if that is gonna work.
But say you had the poles you had to buy, but do you use planking to
we have enough
cover the walls?
planking to line the inside, and if we don't currently, after this year's bridges, we would. So that, hopefully that's something we could do. Okay, on that. So one thing that has come up all of a sudden is the SS4A grant application due at the end of June. We've been working on our safety action plans, or at least our consultant has. They've been doing one for every county in the state. The County Engineer Service Bureau kind of hired this consultant to do all 99 counties so that they would have a plan that would make them prepared to apply for grants. And so here we are, don't have a final plan yet, but we have most of the details, and the grant's due end of June, so we're trying to, I don't know, get the preliminary version in place to be able to apply for it. So Jeremy from Hancock County had kind of pulled neighbor counties to see if we wanted to apply for a joint application to try and, you know, gain some efficiency and improve our competitiveness for cost benefits. And so there's, let's see, Hancock County, Humboldt County, Franklin, Kossuth. Those are the ones coming to mind.
Worth or Cerro Gordo?
They weren't on the call yesterday.
Okay.
So I think there's 6 or 7 of us that are planning to kind of formalize this grant application. But yesterday we kind of heard the details of what we need to commit to, and it looks like we need $8,000 per county to hire the team to put the grant together for us. And then the program is a 20% match, so we would need to come up with the match money whenever that project happens in a couple of years maybe. So the project that's most competitive in our county is to pave 2-foot shoulders on R-74 from Lake Mills south to 838. And when they put the 2-foot shoulders on them, they put the rumbles in them as well. And it would be similar to how Highway 9 is north of town. You know, they got the rumbles just past the striping, and if you hit them, you know it. I mean, there's no doubt that rumbles are an improved safety. They are pretty hard on pavement life, but you know, it's just you're weighing cost versus
Yeah, it's not,
safety.
unfortunately, it's not easy to make the pavement thicker in one spot where the rumble's gonna be, so it doesn't weaken it.
Well, we'll be starting over on that outer 2 feet, so I don't know how thick we'll make it, probably 6 or 8 inches, I would think. And so after you got the rumbles in there, there's, I think, 2 reasons. One thing is that it makes it a little bit thinner pavement. The other thing is when you pave, you end up with kind of a, I don't know, sealed surface in a sense. And when you grind it, you kind of expose all the rocks and interior of the pavement, so it can just deteriorate faster. Some things you do to spray on there to try and seal it back up, but I think it's just an understood thing, and that the safety benefits outweigh the cost.
You won't have any problem with this like the state does on Highway 9.
I sure hope not. We're leery of that for sure, where they
We
have
don't need ponds.
widened shoulders heaving and trapping water on the road. We did pave some shoulders around the curve south of Thompson, and we haven't had that problem there. It's an isolated area, but I'm not sure what you would do to prevent that other than make sure you got a hard bottom and put a decent amount of rock below it, and and if something like that does happen, you gotta shave it off right away, get it fixed up. Certainly a concern. Ethan and I talked about that yesterday, because they have that problem on Highway 9 east of Forest City, and also between Thompson and the 5 Mile.
So why is R-74 the candidate for that?
It has a pretty significant amount of traffic relative to our county when you leave Lake Mills to the south. It, drops off each turn. It's pretty heavy down to the Rice Lake corner, and then still pretty good down to the Joyce corner, and then continues to decrease as you go south of 838, with all the turnoffs. So I think that's really what brings it highest to the list. Plus it has a couple of curves, which already have widened shoulders. So we'll just kind of, match those in. Not widened shoulders, widened paved shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
We really have not a lot of major safety concerns. I mean, if you think about what you've heard or, you know, where we've had accidents, there's not a lot of things that come up. There isn't something the community knows of that we need to address, that I'm aware of. Usually when there are accidents, I mean, a lot of times it's driver fatigue or something like that that isn't really road related. Not that we couldn't improve some of the outcomes with redundancy. You know, you want to teach drivers good behaviors, but if you also have the rumbles and everything, it prevents mistakes.
I can see where those curves would be improved by that, too.
Yeah, those widened curves on our 74 are not rumbled. They're just wider. So, you know, the wider paved shoulders helps you keep the drop-offs further out.
If
So
you drop off
you know,
on a curve when you're, it's worse than if you're going straight.
right. So it
I
helps
can
that,
see
but
where
if
that
the
would be
rumbles
helpful.
in addition would be helpful, so.
All I
So,
can say is if you're gonna put rumbles on a curve, make sure they don't come out into the lane of traffic like in Cerro Gordo County on B20.
Yeah.
That is the most annoying
It
thing.
is. It's the edge ones, right?
Huh?
The edge ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're underneath the line.
Yeah.
And they're like centered on it too.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but
And it narrows up your path
yeah,
when you have somebody coming around the corner tight.
yeah. Yeah. So that's the only place I've seen that problem. So I don't think it's common.
rumbled them a couple times myself.
Yeah.
But years
Someone was
ago,
in training.
it was up in Minnesota somewhere when I first rode I was ever on that had the rumbles all the way down the center line. It sure seems like to me it would prevent a lot of head-on. I mean, they're really, and these were really noisy too. I mean, they were pretty big
Yeah, I mean,
ones.
they're, you know, if you're good and paying attention and you just happen to go, they're pretty annoying.
Anybody can drift over doing something stupid, you
Yeah.
know, well,
So, I guess the 8,000 would probably just come from our, you know, our engineering local budget, and the 200,000 we would have some discretion of, so where it comes from in the future. It could probably be farm to market funds, I think, or local dollars. It's not that big of a number.
And where does the actual grant come from, though?
From the federal government.
Just federal?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
this SS4A program. It's part of Biden's infrastructure law. You know, all of that hoopla that was maybe a couple of years ago got some big press, and some of those programs are, you know, this is not the first time that there has been a notice put out about this. I think this might be the third year. And some counties had their safety action plans just in their back pocket when the grant funding came out. So like Fayette County, for
I was
instance,
gonna
they
say
got 10
Bremer
million.
and Fayette went together, I think, on one, and
Yeah.
like 9 counties over there. I can't remember how many were,
Yeah.
several.
You know, to do all the analysis just for the one grant application is tedious, and sometimes, you know, I don't know if we had the expertise and time to do it. So to have the plan in place when the grant comes out and just say like, here's the sheets from the plan, we'll send them in, you know, do all the other write-ups.
I mean, to me, the center line rumbles for sure should be on every highway anymore.
Yeah, you know, it's,
I can't
with
believe it.
22-foot roadways, it'd be a tight fit. But, you know, it could work. I mean,
No, I'm talking the major highways, not so much it'd be nice, but then, yeah, you might want to widen your pavement a little bit, and that's gonna be more expensive, so.
this project would possibly come with improved markings and signage and things like that too. It'd be up to the design team when we get there. I think it will be each county engineer designing their own parts and putting it together, but I'm not sure exactly.
How much is the grant?
The grant would be about $1 million, 1.1 million or so. It would be the cost for our project. Altogether with the other counties, it looks like about 8 million. So if we put up 200,000 plus this 8,000, we could get 800,000, 900,000. So, you know, if you put it in that perspective, it's pretty good. If
How
you
come
think-
it costs so much to write a
They
grant?
based it on the 8 million and
Well, it was
did it
20,000
8,000.
to write the grant for all of them, right?
The 8,000 times 5 counties, 40,000.
Oh, it's 40,000.
Yeah.
That's what I was, that's what I had in my head, and still, writing a grant, $40,000?
Well,
You'd
it's
think there's
based
gotta be
on the
cookie cutter
amounts
grants
that,
out there already.
Yeah, every grant's different for sure.
But
and,
is
you
it
know,
just writing the grant for 40,000, or is there other aspects they're doing for that 40,000?
Lobbying or something, or?
mostly getting the grant prepared and submitted and kind of babysitting it through the review process.
Hmm.
But no, I know what you mean. Like I've written probably 100 grants in my life, and some of them you can fill out in 3 hours.
Mhm.
But for some reason, they need you to really pack the data into some of these federal aid grants, and they're more difficult.
Another ridiculous expense of money to get your own money back.
Yeah. If it was just our own county and I could pick through it myself, you know, maybe I would try. But the minimum grant is $2.5 million, and so we really can't
Yeah,
come up with the projects to qualify individually.
yeah.
So if you guys think it's a good project, then I think we should take advantage
Is
of
there a
it.
chance of not getting the grant?
Oh, certainly.
So then you'd be out the upfront money anyway.
Right. That's a risk too.
Which, that would only be the 8,000, right? Not the
Yeah.
200,
but is there a risk since it was that whole grant system is gonna not be
It's
available?
already been funded.
So it is all funded.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's a notable risk of it being sort of clawed back later.
Mm-hmm.
The next budget may not include these, but
Yeah, we haven't
Right now
really
it's
seen
there.
major transportation issues with some of the, you know, new administration.
Okay.
There's been some holdups.
So maybe we need to take advantage of it, is what you're saying.
Well, if you think the project is valuable, then yes, I think it's worth it. If you don't think that it's a good project, then we're throwing money at something we wouldn't have otherwise. So, I mean, we didn't have any plans to put 2 quick shoulders on that road otherwise. Maybe after the safety action plan was issued formally and reviewed, maybe we would try to program that in, but we have never had a chance to have that conversation.
So it would cost the initial $8,000 for the grant writing, and then it would cost us $200,000 out of the million something.
Ish,
Yeah,
yeah,
Ish.
20%.
And what's the 200,000 going for?
well, that's the
That's
part
the
that we,
20% local match that's required.
Oh,
We'd have
no,
to
that's
pay.
the money we gotta put up for the project. All right.
Yeah.
It's not like we're forking it out to somebody who's,
No,
Yeah, all right.
the way it would work is we would pay all the million whatever up front, and we would get reimbursed 80% like most of our other federal grants, but with the multi-counties, I'm not sure how the money would all work.
how timely are those reimbursements?
Normally, with our federal aid bridge projects, they're fast, within a month.
so it's not something out of the ordinary for us on a federal grant. I mean, it's a
No,
little different grant though.
I mean, counties in general have good experience with federal aid. So,
Mhm.
you know, after the grant, if we were awarded, most likely between the 5 of us or however many are in the grant, we could design all the projects and administer all the contracts, you know, without any other help. Is what my thought is.
Mhm.
Well, I think it's worth.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is it, with 10 being really important that it should happen for $208,000?
Well, in terms of all the other projects in the report, I'd say it's a 10, because it's the best, most competitive, highest dollar amount project in there. there are some other things in there which I thought were maybe more effective, smaller dollar things like intersection lighting. We have a few intersections that don't have any lights. It's kind of like it's pretty easy to do, but sometimes we have to run several pole services to the intersection, so we just haven't.
I've had
Pull the
calls about,
trigger.
I've had calls about that.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't ever had any calls about making a wider, on R-74,
Yeah,
you know?
but once we get this report back and we can look through it and we can say like, hey, maybe we want to do these 4 intersections, maybe it costs 50 grand. Maybe we can find a different grant or another grant like this for it.
Mhm.
And, that might even work with some local grants or other safety is a really important thing for a lot of grant programs. So, there's something like that. But I suggested it be included in here, but that most of those are one-off. They're separate from any road segments that need any attention. So I'll continue to talk to them about it and see if we can fit any other logical things into this project, but this is what they proposed.
Yeah. I think if you have some flexibility that way, then I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
You guys?
Well, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
Okay, we'll move forward with that. I think I will probably sign the agreement this week and get them moving on things. And that grant needs to be submitted by, I think, June 26th or something, so it's soon. Okay, the other thing I have to discuss today is the Rice Lake paving project. We had talked several months ago about reevaluating this project in June, and here we are. We still don't have the last easement from the Dillows, and we haven't really gotten any communication about it either. And
Has there been deadlines?
what's that?
Has there been deadlines?
Have I? No, because we really.
I mean, we haven't put forth deadlines to them to sign it, they're just.
Right. I mean, that's right.
Would it be beneficial to put a deadline?
It's possible if based on the options today, we can discuss kind of what our thoughts are, and I can communicate that to them. I did some digging into the urban renewal bond requirements because I think that's the limiting factor here is when do we need to have the money spent by. And we can get all the requirements met pretty easy without that project spending because we'll have all industrials and Hewlin Brothers projects, they'll all be spent by this fall. We need 75% of the money spent by April of next year. So then the other requirement is we need to have 100% spent by September of next year. So if you wanted to, we could push it to next year, which is not something we talked about before. But the way the other contracts
Still
lined
get it
up
in.
and the money getting spent, we could wait till next year. As long as we got the project bid in the spring and we put a completion date in the contract of, let's say, end of August, and we could get all the payments made and everything by the end of September. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer too, so maybe the completion date's July 31st or something. So, the earlier you bid something, the better, especially if you want it done by midsummer. So, I think we're talking February at the latest, is like a March, maybe 2026 at the latest for bidding the project. So option one is just to wait.
I have been receiving a number of texts and phone calls from residents.
Recording ended.
And I conveyed the information that you gave me. So that was helpful. I'm kind of the thought to wait
If we waited, would we patch the culvert area, or what would we do there?
If we, let's say we wait indefinitely, it would make sense for us to go back and patch the culvert. If we're waiting just one winter and gonna get it next summer, we might even not patch
Leave it.
You know, it's gonna move, it always does the first year. They got millings in there, which packs in really hard. It's low speed. So maybe game time decision, I guess, but
Mhm.
I think our guys could throw some patch in there too, you know, pour it out 2 inches deep and just get something in there over the winter too. Ethan's got the guys working on a kind of a paver box to try and do some little
Small
bit bigger
pavers.
patches.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think we'd be able to do that ourselves too. Just order a truckload of mix and put it in there. Let's see. Some of the other options would be to do part of the project, or bail, cancel the project entirely. But
So if it was partial, it would just go from the road to the parking lot.
yeah, that road was paved last in the. I don't have that with me, but it's probably the road that has not received any attention the longest in the county. So it's been maybe 30 years or more
Mhm.
since it's been paved last. The subdivision area was paved in '99, and it does have some bad spots, but it's not as bad as the roads up
So
in the
is it,
clubhouse.
if we did a partial one out there, would it cost more eventually by doing it in two portions?
Usually you can, and it's hard to put a number to it, but the larger the project, the better the prices. And then the sooner the project, the better the prices. So if you cut it in two and one is later, it'll cost more. But this summer, I get the sense that contractors still don't have a full plate. Some of them. So I think we would still have pretty good interest. We have, one contractor already working in the county and one contractor within hauling distance to their main plant, Heartland. So you expect to get 2 bids.
Can you send out information to the remaining holdout, and, giving a deadline that if we don't get response by this date, the project will no longer happen this year, and just leave it at that? Then they think it might not happen at all.
Sure.
We don't know. We may cancel it next year.
Right. So let's say, that date's pretty soon, I think.
Mhm.
This month sometime?
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks? Or?
Let's say we get all set up here, the June 25th or something. Well, then we have to take a month to get it bid, then it's the end of July, and then you have August, September, October, you have 3 months. Possible, but you're on a tight timeline, right? Because a lot of these contractors probably have all their schedules kind of penciled out. But I could do a little bit of asking before we, asking the contractors how it looks for them too. See if they could fit it in.
Mhm.
Well, if nothing else, if we can at least get them to sign, we can schedule it for next year too. Who knows? If we feel like it's not going to be.
Yeah, I could at least give everybody like a break from waiting, and say like, if we don't get it by here, it's definitely next year. And if we don't get it by whatever the next date is, then it will be canceled for good. If we can give them 2 dates.
But you only have to contact one person, right, to start with?
Yeah.
The trouble with waiting until next year is just gonna give them, they're just doing this to antagonize, would be my guess. But, they'll just wait until the last second next year, probably, if they can do it at all.
Yeah, it's, who are they antagonizing, Is it us? Because we're just trying to do what's right out there.
Anything to
Well,
do with
we've
the
got
county
plenty
at
of
this point.
projects across the county that this one doesn't go,
Yeah,
there's another one.
That's the other thing is, if you wanted to take 500,000 away from here and put it to something else, sooner the better on that, so I can line something up.
To me, well,
Yes.
we'll give them a date. If we don't have it in 2 weeks, this project's done.
So do we not like the idea of just doing a partial out there? The main road that's the oldest part, rather than doing the whole project?
I think it's more efficient to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
But how dangerous is it getting dangerous at all, or?
It's getting to the point where if we don't have a project, we would need to go out there and do a little bit of
Extra work
patch
anyway.
up,
Patchwork. I mean,
patchwork,
there's
whatever.
some potholes and stuff in it.
Yeah, where the joints go across the road, some of those are just starting to flip out a little bit, or the edges of the road are breaking off a couple spots, especially around the curves and things. And, when you got a project coming up, you kind of neglect it intentionally to keep from wasting money.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Mhm. So there's a number of residents out there that are also, like they always do, asking about driveways and if they can get quotes on driveways, as long as it's going to. So Scott actually sent me this, and this is what I've been telling them, just so everybody knows. The project has been postponed indefinitely by the Board of Supervisors due to one outstanding road easement. Homeowners may get quotes for driveway work anytime. It's possible that quotes could be more competitive if the county had a contractor hired for the paving. And so that's what I've been conveying to them, because there's a number of them that would like their driveways done, of course,
Yeah.
too.
To add to that, to get a driveway paved before the project would be, it'd be tough to get it right so that it matches.
So don't encourage
Right, we had a
that.
couple out there that did some new concrete driveways, and we went out there and tried to fine tune it so that when we went by, we would match it, and,
Mhm.
it's hard to do.
It is hard to
Easier to
do.
do the road first and then match the driveways.
Well, I think adding some dates to some deadlines, possibly 2 different dates, makes sense. Is there any reason to include the whole email group so that they're aware of that there's a deadline?
I think we can.
I feel like that might be informative to them as well. Because if we don't start on that project, we're gonna have lots of phone calls too. So I think the more informed they are, the better.
Well, they know the reason.
Right, but I think it'd be nice if they knew that there was also a date involved.
Well, no, yeah, I'm gonna share the information or whatever, but they know the reason that it's not going forward. I'm sure it's not a secret in the neighborhood.
Yeah. To Bill's point, if I say, if we don't have it by June 25th, the project will be
Postponed for
basically
another.
shelved for the winter, for the rest of the season in the winter.
And possibly put back on next year.
Yeah, with a possible reevaluation in the late winter, really.
Sounds good.
And, potentially in the spring, we could say, pull the plug, we'll do another quick project, whatever it is. And we'll reallocate that money or just let it slide and it'll just roll back into the loan payoff.
And it's not like the improvements that we've made out there by removing trees and things are for nothing. I mean,
No.
there's still, those were valid improvements that needed to be done.
Definitely. I mean, we've been wanting to make, tree trimming and things like that a priority for a long time.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. Let's go to open forum.
Last week when Chris did the transfers, there was a mix-up in that she used the actual number of paid taxes versus the percentage that goes to secondary roads, so we overpaid secondary roads. So, she would like to do a transfer,
Amendment?
today to fix that. She's working on it right now.
Okay,
So we'll be transferring back out of roads to,
Real basic.
so she'll just have that paperwork before long?
Yes, yep, she's working on it.
You didn't already spend it, did you?
I
Scott?
didn't,
Hmm.
and,
Lost your chance.
you don't get, we all focus mostly on expenditure reports, so I don't always see all the transfers and revenues, but it's 222,000, so worth cracking.
It wasn't something that you just kind of went, oh.
It's not petty
Yeah.
Well,
cash.
I would have caught it, but probably not until my annual report,
Oh,
Yeah,
which is always too late.
we tend to look at our expenditures more than we do the revenue side, so it wasn't caught until we did claims this time and looked at the fund balances.
Supposed to fund balance for real basic was not looking too good after
No, it
that.
was not. It was not at all.
all right. Well, lots of things going on in your department. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Anything else for open forum? All right. We'll look at the county claims.
Here's the claims and the payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve the county claims.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the county claims. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion passed. Consider for approval payroll. Oh, I forgot your seeds, Carla. I had them running out even.
Oh, shoot. You know, I was just thinking about that last night because we were, Jason was working in the garden and I was thinking, I thought I had some seeds or something.
It's gonna bring you marigolds.
It was like something was trying to trigger and I couldn't remember. Well, if we don't have anything else in our garden this year, we've got some potatoes, so.
Good year for potatoes.
We had a friend that planted his potatoes this year. He's trying them in 5 different buckets.
Oh,
Drilled drain holes around it, and
That's
he's
that
doing
one.
the small red ones. He said he kind of has
we
seen.
do sweet potatoes in
That's so cool.
drums.
I love sweet potatoes.
I felt like
Sweet
my bucket tomatoes last year were kind of too consolidated.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Did you plant just one, like basically one hill or one
Yeah.
thing in each one? He said he was doing those little baby red ones. That's what he was gonna do, and thought that was gonna work out well.
I've just been grabbing all the compost that accumulates around and decomposes.
We might have to mix.
It seems to
Right.
grow things really well when I work that in.
Nice.
Or have you next week. So, I don't know.
Do you feel comfortable approving this today?
I
Yeah.
have a problem with that. Correction
It's a
is all it
correction.
is.
It was my fault. First time in 15 years I grabbed the wrong number.
Well,
We just want it right.
Right, because I'll show you my sheet. This is what I do. I put in what the taxes I received and then the
There's a formula.
formula,
Makes it-
sorry, tells me what I'm supposed to do. Well, that's the taxes and that's what I should have paid him, but I paid him the taxes. So
Wrong line.
we need to get the money back. So
Nice that you caught that. 'Cause
Well,
like
when
he
I-
said, he wouldn't have caught it until his.
no, because
Annual.
when I saw this, that this was negative this, I'm like, what? I thought maybe I wasn't using the right number or whatever, and then I looked at what I did.
Well, I guess the
I
other
don't know
option
what-
is if it
You've
comes
got a
out of
good
her
track
paycheck.
record. We're not worried about you.
First time in 15 years.
You gotta work 2 years for freedom.
Oh, I feel like no. Plus, that would be
Wow.
more than 2 years today.
Well, true.
we'll not have that anymore. I've never transposed a number before.
Yeah,
That was, it's a biggie. But Julie has to have it for her first name.
yes. Yes, the rest of us, we've never been.
No, you guys are great. Yep, it's me.
Yeah,
I know it's me.
So we need that as a separate motion then?
Yeah, please.
I'll make a motion to, how do I word it? Approve the transfer due to clerical error last week or?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
If I can get a second.
We have a second for that motion?
oh, all right.
All right, so we had a motion by Derby, seconded by Tinsvold. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Motion passed. Things happen.
They sure do. And the good thing is that
It's
when I
found,
started, Judy Herringate told me that there's nothing we can't fix.
well, there you go.
It's obvious there was no evil intent.
No. No.
Oh, yeah, we got sloppy stamping going on here. Is that one? I guess. Just go up the corner.
Thank you.
They're sticking together.
Ah, my hands get so dry sometimes. Oh, keep the hand lotion back there.
So does this one know about the changes coming July 1st? So that transfer came from roads?
It was from rural basic to secondary roads, and now it's back secondary roads to rural basic.
Did we have a motion on payroll claims?
Not yet, but I'll make it.
I'll second.
Motion by Jenswold and seconded by Derby to approve the payroll claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. We are adjourned.